There was a man in my bedroom window. Story time. So growing up, me and my brother were left alone a lot. My mom was a single lady raising 2 kids, so there were plenty of times where she had to work late. It never was an issue because on the days where my mom worked late, usually my mom had a babysitter for us, but as my brother got older, he started babysitting me. Which turned out to be a disaster because a lot of the time he would leave me home by myself. So one day I'm home alone because my brother was supposed to be watching me, but I guess he had other plans. I'm chilling in my bedroom playing video games and it's dark outside. Like if I looked out my window, I couldn't see a thing. And as I'm playing video games, my back is to the window. Now it was hot that day, so I had the window open. And you know that feeling you get when you're alone, but you feel like somebody is watching you? That's the feeling I had. And I wasn't paying attention to it until I heard something tap the window. I turn around to see where the noise is coming from, and I kid you not, it looked like somebody had just quickly ducked down so I wouldn't see them. So of course I'm scared because I wasn't sure if I actually saw somebody or if it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But somehow I mustered up the courage to walk over to the window and shut it. And keep in mind, I was only around 11 at this point, but I managed to calm myself down, convince myself it was all in my head, and I went back to playing video games. Also, my mom was coming home soon, so that made me feel a little bit better because I wasn't going to be home alone for too much longer. However, a couple minutes go by and I hear something tap on the window again. So of course I turn around again, but there's nothing there but darkness. But this time I sat and I stared at that window. I was not taking my eyes off. And even though all you could see was black, if you looked closely, you could kind of make out the figure of a man. So I sat there and I just kept staring because I felt like I could see somebody. And even though my heart was racing and I was terrified, I was just froze there, stuck. Now, I don't know if staring egged this figure on, but the next thing I know, a hand slapped against the window and slowly dragged down. It was terrifying. And I tried for a split second to convince myself that it was my brother, but the hand was so big, it was obviously like a grown man. And my brother was only about 15 at the time, so I knew it wasn't him. Now, thankfully, after the hand dragged off the bottom of the window, the front door opened and it was my mom. So I did what any kid would do. I run to her and I tell her there was a man in my window. I don't know if he was trying to come in or what, but I was scared. And you know what this lady had the nerve to tell me? Boy, go lay down. It was probably just a crackhead. Like, what? He stole money from his mom to pay for Roblox. Story time. One of my college roommates was obsessed with games, and his favorite was Roblox. He would even skip classes just so he could play it. And if you don't think that was extreme enough, listen to this. One day this boy calls his mom and puts her on speakerphone, and I'm in the room with them just listening. His mom answers and he's like, "Mom, I hate to ask this, but I need money for books and art supplies." And because I went to an art school, his mom didn't think anything of it. She was like, "Of course, anything you need, just let me know how much." At first, he asked for $500, but because his mom was so nice and generous, she was like, "I'm just gonna send you 1,000 so you don't have to ask me again." I was sitting there confused because me and him had the same classes and none of our classes required us to get art supplies or books. What's really going on? So after he gets off the phone with her and she sends him the money, I just straight up ask him we don't need books or art supplies for any of our classes, so what are you going to use that money for? This boy gonna say, "Oh, I just needed the money for Roblox, so I had to make up that lie real quick." So I replied to him and I said, "Don't you feel bad? That's $1,000. People don't just have $1,000 lying around to just send people." And what came out of his mouth after that was insane. He gonna tell me to shut my mouth, black boy, and mind my business. Excuse me? So I shut my mouth, logged into Facebook on my phone, went to his profile, found his mother, and sent a cute little message just telling her what her son was actually doing with the money she sent him. I mean, she deserves to know. It's her money. Not even 5 minutes after that message sent, y'all, his mom calls him and she is screaming. He didn't put her on speakerphone this time, but I could hear her cussing his behind out. on the other side of that phone. And he didn't even deny what he was doing. He actually tried to gaslight her and was like, don't you want me to be happy here? I'm all by myself. I have no one to talk to. Like, the games are the only thing that bring me happiness. But luckily, his mom did not fall for it. In fact, because she was the one paying for his school, paying for him to actually eat, paying for him to play his little video games, she cut him off of everything. This boy had to find a part-time job and start paying for his own stuff. And then he gonna try to confront me about it like I did something wrong. But that's a whole nother story.
Okay, so I'm gonna just tell you about the time that I almost got kidnapped at 19 years old. So, like, 5 years ago. It was like 8:30 at night. I had just gotten done my night class, and I was on my way to my friend's house. Now, I needed to get her cash, so there was an ATM on the way that I was just gonna stop at. Now, when I get to this ATM, there is a car in front of it, and so I just pull up behind it, and I'm waiting, and then suddenly I notice that the driver is getting out on the passenger side of the vehicle, and slowly starts to approach my car. Now, this guy was definitely dressed in a suit, so I was like, okay. So I cracked my window, just a little bit. He gets to my window and he's like, hey, my car won't start. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have jumper cable. Now, that was a lie, I do, but I was like, I don't know this guy, I'm not gonna help him. This is how murders happen. But there's that little subconscious in me that's like, Olivia, you're so dramatic, you're fine. But anyway, he goes, no, I have jumper cables. If you can just pull around, that would be great. So I was like, But then I realized I'm on Main Street, you know, like nothing's gonna happen, whatever, I'll just pull around. So I pull the front of my car up to the front of his car and I pull the little latch. He kind of plays with it for a minute and he goes, hey, can you help me? I don't know how to do this. This is when I was like, But 19-year-old Olivia gets out of the vehicle to help him. So I open the hood, he puts the jumper cables on, and he starts his vehicle. He goes, thank you so much, my name's Chris, what's your name? My name's Olivia. He goes, thank you so much. I was like, yeah, it's no problem. I get in my vehicle, I back up, I go back around the bank. By the time I get back to the ATM, his car's gone. Now, I'm a poor college student, so I had to make sure that I even had the money in my checking account. So I pull up my mobile banking app, and I log in, and I do a transfer, and I get the cash that I need. Now, at this point, it's been, 7 or 8 minutes, right? As I am leaving, I tell you that he is parked on the side. So as I drive by, I notice that he is on his phone, and we make eye contact. Now, there was just something that was telling me this isn't right, but at the same time, there's a little subconscious. It's like, you're fine. So I pull out of the bank and I take a right and I just kind of keep checking in my rearview mirror, Sure enough, he pulls out. Now I notice that it's him because he has a left headlight out, so I can spot him. And I start heading towards my friend's house. Now, on my way to my friend's house, I notice that he is still following me. I tell her I'm pretty sure he's following me and she goes, okay, you need to take 3 left-hand turns to not come to my house, obviously. And I see a cop at the gas station. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can stop there. But then I realize I don't know for sure that he's following me. I just think that he's following me. So I drive by the cop and I take 3 left-hand turns because that's what my friend told me to do. He does the same thing. So at this point, I go into full panic mode. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta call 911. Hang up with her, I call 911, I tell them everything. I'm like, this guy is following me. Bawling my eyes. At this point, I'm literally going back towards the bank where we all started. So I know for a fact he's following me now. I'm on the phone with the cops. I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's following me. I'm crying. I'm driving honestly really fast. And they are trying to get the cop to get to wherever we're at. And finally, I think that he realized that I realized he was following me. So he got off the exit of where the bank was. Finally, I see the cop, and so I pull over, and the cop approaches my car. I'm crying my eyes out. I'm telling him everything. And he goes, oh yeah, I saw that guy with the headlight out. I went to go look for him. Where did you guys go? Because I had told him that we had passed the cop at the gas station, and he was like, oh yeah, that was me. And anyway, so he was looking for the guy who had the headlight out, but because I took 3 left-hand turns, and the cop assumed, well, he must be going towards what's like known as the pier. So anyway, the cop was like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch the video footage, try to get a copy of his license plate. Fortunately, the cop believed me because I felt like a total crazy person. And I was like, do you think you put a tracker on my car? And he was like, honestly, I don't think that he would have put a tracker on your car or he would have had like no reason to follow you. But the cop was really nice and he ended up following me back to my house that night. And anyways, I literally had major PTSD for like months every time I saw a vehicle with a headlight out. I'm sharing this story because it was a very clever way to be able to follow a female home. It wasn't like he was noticeably right behind me. Like he was like at least 200-300 yards away. So if I hadn't been keeping my eye out and wondering if he was following me, I really wouldn't have noticed and he would have known where I lived that night. And who knows what would have happened. So moral of the story is don't try to be a nice person, protect yourself.